Welcome back, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about AT&T, why they had to cut their dividend stock, and AT&T's debt. Okay, so first off, I know that the dividend being cut is kind of old news, but a lot of people still aren't really understanding why they had to cut their dividend. Well, let's get into it. So, to understand why AT&T is cutting the dividend in half, we first have to understand what payout ratio is versus free cash flow. So, payout ratio is a percentage of the free cash flow that a company pays out to their stockholders as a dividend. That has to come out of the free cash flow. There's a handful of things that free cash flow can be used for, and one of them is paying dividends to the stockholders. Payout ratio is the percentage of that free cash flow paid out to stockholders. So if a payout ratio, or the percentage of free cash flow that's paid out to stockholders, is higher, that means that the company is having to spend way more of its free cash flow to afford the dividend. Now, typically we like to see that a payout ratio is 60% or under. No higher than 60% or you're getting in dangerous territory. However, the pinnacle for a payout ratio percentage is 40% or under. Remember, there's other things free cash flow can do, such as invest back in the business or pay down debt. And if you're paying too high of a payout ratio, too much of your free cash flow on a dividend, you're not going to have enough free cash flow left over to help benefit the business in other ways. Now on the screen, we are looking at AT&T's current payout ratio, 75.36%. Not very good. That's 75% of their free cash flow generated in 2021. This means that they took 3/4 of the free cash flow and gave it back to the stockholders in a dividend. Most people would acknowledge not only is this not very safe, but not sustainable. Also, you're lucky we're looking at the most recent year for payout ratio. There have been a couple years in recency where the payout ratio was over 100%. Okay, so remember, payout ratio is the amount of your free cash flow you're giving away in dividend to your stockholders. So what does it mean if it's over a 100%? Well, my friends, that means that they quite literally did not have enough free cash flow or enough cash generated from the business to pay the dividend for that year. So how do you pay for a dividend that you can't even afford with your own money you make from your business? Easy. You just take on more debt. I'm sure that's what AT&T needed. And this has, again, happened in previous years. I saw one year where the payout ratio was like 133% at the time. Ridiculous and not sustainable. So when people ask why the dividend needs to be cut basically in half for the good of the company, it's because the dividend was not sustainable. AT&T prided themselves on the fact that they were a dividend aristocrat, and they didn't want to lose that status. For reference, a dividend aristocrat is a company that for 25 years or more has consecutively increased their dividend each year. AT&T didn't want to lose this title because of perception. They knew it would be a bad look, so even though they knew it wasn't sustainable and even took on debt for some years just to make it happen, they kept raising the dividend up each year. This was complete mismanagement, along with the media companies that they acquired for way too much money. And the fact that some of the years they had to actually take on some debt just to help afford that dividend now gets me into our next subject, debt. Now I want to help paint the picture of just how important it really is that AT&T is shedding a lot of this debt. First of all, we can say, with them cutting the dividend in half, it's going to be a lot more sustainable to pay out. In fact, the payout ratio is estimated that it's going to be around 40%. So 40% of free cash flow generated. That's really good. That is an extremely stable payout ratio and easily affordable dividend for them to pay. So we already know that with a stable dividend, they're not going to have to take on any more debt to help pay a dividend. But let's get into the big one. Spinning off all that debt from Warner Media and DirecTV. Remember all the debt they took on just by spinning off Warner Media alone. AT&T management said that they're wiping off basically about $2 billion in interest on debt each year. Remember, that's $43 billion that will be wiped off of their debt. They will save $2 billion a year off of interest payments that they would have to pay on that debt. Remember, that's not even paying any debt down with your free cash flow. That's paying the interest on debt you already had. So, cutting the dividend makes the company much more stable with an affordable dividend, something more sustainable and realistic to pay out, and spinning off Warner Media and DirecTV and getting rid of some of this debt saves them on paying $2 billion plus in interest on debt that they had. These are two big things the company needed to do to get back onto the correct track and get back to their roots. Now that I've addressed the dividend cut as well as the debt and why it is that both had to be taken care of for the company to move forward, I want to address what AT&T now has to do in future years to add value to this company. If free cash flows don't really increase a ton in future years and sort of just stabilizes around 20 billion plus, maybe a little more than 20 billion, that's okay. That's still a huge amount of free cash flow generated. So what AT&T does now to add value to the stockholders, they need to, for a number of years, pay down their debt that they have. Even after this Warner Media deal with spinning that off and paying down $43 billion in debt, AT&T still has quite a bit of debt. So in the coming years, they need to use their free cash flow to pay down a lot of their remaining debt. Not only are you, of course, paying down debt, but again, you're also lowering your interest payments on debt you already have because you're paying down the debt. This is one way they definitely add value to stockholders. But then, once you've paid down debt for a number of years, there's an even better way that they can start adding value to shareholders. They can then start to buy back shares. So pay down a lot of your debt first in the coming years with that huge free cash flow that you generate, and then after that, start buying back shares. That is really something that will add value to stockholders. Again, remember, share dilution means that you're having to share the pie, the same size pie, with more people. And the opposite to that is when shares are bought back. When there's less people that the pie is going around to, and you're getting more of the pie now. You're getting more value out of the company when shares are bought back. Okay, that's going to wrap this one up, everyone. Thank you for watching. I hope that this helped clarify why the dividend needed to be cut and how this big pay down in debt helps them and how it really helps the company for them to pay down more debt in the future. Okay, everyone, thank you for watching and have a great day.